So this book, that a lot of people think word design is what makes you history. Golden ratio, everything. Yeah, no, it's absolutely true. Because I can tell you as a designer myself, I stopped my maturity when I learned to apply. The same thing you said. Frank Lloyd Wright. Read his biography, saw his work, absolutely amazing. He was a total nutcase, and most of the time he ignored reality. Like, I forget the name of the building, Falls in Pennsylvania. He's got a house that's over a river. As the river was going by, what does water do? Like the roads. What's happening to the house? It's starting to shift. Kind of crazy. But you think about these guys, or Frank Gehry, you think about it, and you see how, yeah, they sort of push the greater technology. But my point being, yeah, once I go more about the math side of things, it's not about how style design. Got quiet all of a sudden. Someone came in that I didn't see. Oh, that's why I got quiet. I see. Awesome.
Yeah. I mean, yes, I will post it.
There's a few codes. Yeah, I tried. The weather is like, it's gonna wear it down. Is it Dyson? Yeah. I bought it 5 years ago. I bought it first. Wow, it's the best thing. It's like, I know it's 100, right? But I use it for 5 years now. And that's 8 weeks ago per year. And honestly, like, it's a lot of good day. It looks like really good. It's like your hair, if I use it, you get under. And you can also get straight hair. You have options. How long does it last? So if you have the gel, which I'm traveling right now, I still last it. I kind of like let it just wear. Yeah, but it's really good. Yeah, definitely. I was just like, yeah, I'm trying to feel. I'm sure there will be like Thanksgiving very cool in my I like getting marketing. I can tell you this. The demands would be high on Black Friday and Friday. The price would drop a little bit just for you to see the deal. But it might not be the cheapest. It might be the cheapest for the products that they want to release. But something that I already know that it will sell, that will be a little bit more. Like, it drops better when nobody's buying. So basically on the season it's really
Yeah, we're getting started. So you guys want to get seated? I call Jaden as well.
Hello, guys. We're gonna get started in 5 minutes, and so find the seats. And you don't have to be this quiet. Don't worry. Keep talking. But yeah, we're gonna get started soon. And yeah. You want me to just? Okay. So hi. Do you guys know what we're here for? Oh God, yes.
Neither do we, so it's okay then.
Yeah, we
We're all
don't
on the
know
same page.
either, but introduce yourself, please. Your name No?
What's that?
Your name is No?
That's a good one.
Uh-huh.
My name is Mare.
Hi, Mayor. I'm Nara.
Nice to meet you.
We already networking.
There you go.
That's the topic for today, guys. So again, last time we host here for resume
And portfolio.
and portfolio, which we hate. But this thing, I'm more like, we don't hate it, but we scare of it, right? Most people are scared, like talking to strangers. I was introvert before and nobody actually think I am because I'm talking to all you guys just like I met you guys before. But everybody have extrovert, introvert in you guys, you know? Unleash it, networking take you far. And that's what we're going to talk to you guys about is like how you actually network, how we actually network before, then that's gonna affect your job search. I have to stand the camera. You want me to be right here?
No, a little further away. Nobody wants to see you up close. Go there.
I want to sit, but I'm
Yeah,
not
you
there.
can.
And yeah, let's get started. So let us introduce our speaker. Introduce yourself.
Hi everyone. First of all, good to see everyone. A lot of familiar faces, some new faces. So excited for the second session as well. If you haven't seen the first one, it is on YouTube. It's a little weird. Like there's a cut in between because we lost some connection in between here. But yeah, so my name is Shivam. I'm a UX designer working at Google on cloud database products. I have transitioned my career a few times. I was an electronics engineer, then I was a developer, and now I'm a designer, and God knows what I'm going to be tomorrow. But today, I am your panelist. But also, just like a friend talking here with you. So we are going to have fun. It's a very candid conversation that we generally have. It's not something that we have prepared beforehand because we want to keep it as real as possible. So a lot of times that you might come across where we don't agree. Like just the panel itself don't agree on things. And that's fine. Because I think that's the idea that we are all here to share our opinions, things that have worked for us, have not worked for us. And I think then you have to kind of take what will work for you, try different things, pick something, leave something. But it's a big conversation essentially. People who are on the live stream, people who are here, it's just a very big conversation that we are going to have. And so hopefully it will be fun. But thank you so much for everyone who showed up. Thank you.
Hey everybody, Joey Kilrain, probably have a lot more experience than most people in the audience, and I'm super excited to share how I made it through from where I started off many moons ago, about maybe 20 or so years ago, and how I got to where I am now. I can tell you one thing that got me where I'm at is networking.
That's it?
That's it. Keep it short and
Saving
sweet.
it for later. Hi everyone, I'm Arthi. In a past life, I was a software engineer. So now I'm in my second life. I'm a designer at Bloomberg. I work on designing the interaction patterns for most of our AI products. And yeah, I'll save a little mystery for later too.
Sure. Hi, you guys might see me many times before. Nara. I was an architect before in my past life and kind of wiggled my room into tech, and I love it. And I just want to share how I did it, or like how I built portfolio towards it, or how to network. Yeah, basically.
Hello, I'm Jamin. I'm also a past architect in my first life and somehow stumbled accidentally into design, and I've been doing it for now about 8 years. And it feels weird to say that outwardly. But yes, I'm here to just share my experience, my journey, and hopefully you can take away some gems and just apply it to yourself.
Great. Yeah, you can clap for him. So this is a QR code. While we are talking, you can just ask your questions in there. It's going to be there constantly. So in between, you can also like just check. But the people sitting here can just raise their hands, and we can just take the question right then and there. But if you still want, you can post the questions. See if somebody else is also trying to think something similar to you, and that way we can pick up the most burning questions, like it says, that most people want to hear about. Same goes with people on live stream. They can just keep posting questions so that we can take and you get to know what you want to know, essentially. And then just to get started, some formalities, right? I mean, not formalities, but we are here not just because we wanted to be, but a lot of people also helped us to be here, right? So the first and foremost is definitely SVA. So I'm just gonna read quickly like what they do and how thankful we are for them to like allow us to have this space where we all can come share our ideas and just enjoy a good afternoon. So welcome. I'm just gonna read word by word, by the way. Welcome to MFA Interaction Design at School of Visual Arts. This was founded in 2009, and it's a 2-year STEM certified program that explores the possibilities of new technologies to create a more inclusive and accessible world. IXD trains students to research, analyze, prototype, and design concepts in their business, social, and cultural contexts. IXD students and alums are part of a vibrant community of designers, artists, entrepreneurs, technologists, and more. We are now taking, and not we, but like they are taking applications for fall 2025. So if somebody is like looking forward to join, go for it. And they're also hosting a virtual info sessions on November 12th. So you can even, if you're interested in learning about that, you can register. I'm sure the registration link is on their pages. So you can go register for this info session, which is on November 12th. If you're interested to go into fall 2025 here, but it's a cool place. So I'll give it that. And second one that I am going to talk about is essentially, a sponsor, a global sponsor for ADPList, which allows ADPList to kind of do events like these. They are the one that kind of keeps ADPList running in terms of operation wise, because ADPList doesn't like take money from members. So these are the ones that keep them afloat. And I'm just going to play a video of their global sponsors that they've shared, and we'll go from there. Wow, that is a dead silence.
Thank you for bearing with us. But yeah.
Just people on live stream, we'll share the link with you. You can watch it later. We were not able to connect it with the live stream itself, but we'll share it with you guys. And I mean, just to kind of wrap up from what I saw, I think it's a great way to get started with your portfolios, right? I mean, we spend a lot of times on Webflow, which has a learning curve, to be honest, right? If you don't have any background in coding, there's a little bit of learning curve there. Even if you go on Wix or Squarespace, at least in my opinion, they're a bit limiting as well, right? So this kind of gives you that flexibility, creative flexibility, that you can really create whatever you can imagine at this point of time. So I think it's a great tool. Might want to look into it, but that's on them.
You want to fix the sound so I can just get this going? People cannot hear.
No, I think they were not able to hear the video.
Okay.
I think they're able to hear
Okay.
everything.
So yeah, you can scan this link too, so you can type in the question and ask us, so you don't have to like raise up your hands, so it's more easier. But again, welcome you guys to talk to us too. And some people actually ask for ice breaking.
I saw that.
Yeah. Who asked that?
Well, I wouldn't ask who.
But it's a great idea, so I like it.
However,
Yeah.
I think from an icebreaking perspective, is there anything, actually, an icebreaking question I would ask is, how many of you guys are from New York City? Born and raised?
No.
Okay, very small amount. I'm not originally from New York City. I'm originally from South Philly. And when I first proposed to my parents that I wanted to pursue a career in graphic design, once my dad knew what graphic design was, once my dad knew what graphic design was, he immediately said no, because you're going to be an artist and then make no money. And then my mom quickly followed in suit. And I was this close from not pursuing a career in design. And as a matter of fact, I actually applied for General Motors Institute for automotive engineering because I like building cars, like classic cars and stuff. And they said no because my scores were too low. So I was technically, say, dumb in their minds. Got into the Art Institute of Philadelphia, and I thought I made the biggest mistake of my life because I was doing advertising, and I thought, this is just awful. I don't like any of this stuff. And then I got into typography. I couldn't pronounce it. It's typography. I didn't know. And then once I got into that, I was like, yo, I'm in the right spot. And then after that, a couple years later, had a couple of opportunities come up, and I took a really big risk. I bet on me, and I came to New York. And that was it. And back then, there wasn't texting and that kind of stuff. Again, this is like the early 90s or late 90s, but still, there wasn't like a big thing. So in order for me to get to people, how do you think I did it? I had to meet with them in person. And in a lot of cases, I didn't know who any of these people were. And I kind of fumbled through, stuttering, not dressed right, sweaty because why? I was running through the city because I didn't know how to get to a place I had to get to. And then inevitably, started getting it right. Started meeting people. So there's an icebreaker. Mm-hmm. Now what?
Now we're gonna begin.
So essentially, like I said, the way we are going to do it is we are going to have candid conversation. We have some prompts. I'm going to start with those. We are going to share, and then if you guys have questions or even if you have opinions, feel free to share with us, right? But I think the first thing that a lot of time when it comes to job search and networking is, how do I position myself in the market, right? Because we all want to stand out. We all want to be unique. So what does that mean, right? How do we position ourselves into the market? It obviously could, it ranges from creating a cohesive brand to talking to right people, being in the right spot. So I'll just open up if somebody wants to get started with it. Nara, yeah.
So quick questions. How do you guys network these days? Silence? Is that how you network? Link? Oh wow. Thank you. Who of us here updated their LinkedIn last week? Wow. Wow, okay. Do you guys know about read.cv? Wow. Okay, you can see the wow and the wow. Well, I'll be more wow, if you do both. It's actually one place you can actually network online. But again, if you guys are here, you guys are showing up to network with us and with each other. So that's a good job. Networking, not only gonna happen online, right? But because right now, this day, we have LinkedIn, we have those online platforms, abuse them, use them. But again, it will come down to like how you present yourself in a unique way. Who are you? Why are you so different? Why do I have to work with you? Why you? Right? So those are the questions that boil down as we are the designer. You must have some identity, right? And that's your portfolio and your LinkedIn, your resume, everything should reflect that branding. I work as a creative director, so branding for me is like my identity. If you look on my website, which I put a link in that, we have a QR code to download the slide at the end, so don't worry. But you guys understand the word cohesive. What is it? It doesn't mean, What is it? What does cohesive means? Okay. Thank you. What's your name? Hi, Susian. Hi, Susian. Yeah, it's meant to be like in harmony or looks like it belongs to each other. Doesn't look like a piece of Frankenstein. Does your portfolio right now looks like it's cohesive with your resume, with your LinkedIn too? Do you think it does or it doesn't? Right? That's another thing to reflect on the brand positioning, which is how to present your identity. Is that look at those first. You present yourself as a designer. You must be good at some like design identity. But if your portfolio look like A, your resume looks like B, then maybe like your LinkedIn looks like C. How can people process what exactly you do, right? So that's the first thing I will leave to you guys today is go look at those three things, see what's the visual elements, and visual elements mean by what the main color means just like what are the color that present mostly in all those materials. What fonts do you use? Do you use the same fonts? It has to be pretty much like a design system, right? Fonts, colors, visual. Go take a look at those and feel free to message me on LinkedIn too if you actually need help. I might reply late, but now I'm gonna hand it off to who wanna speak.
So I second everything that she says, but given that I'm not as much of a strong visual designer, I think something that I rely on in differentiating myself in the market is telling the story of who I am rather than what I can do. I think that's what makes you a bit memorable in this kind of a market, telling your story of how you came from where you started, whether that's what you studied or what you were working as, to where you want to be next in your design career. And that's kind of what people remember about you. Everyone can do beautiful design, and it's hard to differentiate. Yeah, oh, I remember that design in that portfolio that looked that way. But they might remember certain attributes about you or your personality or your background history.
I can add to that. Definitely what these two people just said, but also the fact that there are two parts to it, right? And I always try to think about all these things as real world, like how you interact in the real world. So there are two parts to it. One is that you want to be yourself, right? Everybody says that go out, be yourself, be who you are, express yourself, and all that is great. And in an ideal world, that would be the world which we will all be living in. But then there is the second part is that we also want to be liked by others, right? And as much as it sucks, it is true. As humans, we are social animals. We want to be liked by others. We want to have a community. We want to have a group, and that's how we, make friends. The people that actually can bear with us for, a couple of hours every day. So essentially, with your the three things, portfolio, LinkedIn, and portfolio. Oh, sorry, portfolio, LinkedIn, and resume. I was like, that's something repetitive. Yeah, but there has to be that cohesiveness. That yes, this is who I am. Like what Adi mentioned, like the personality aspect should be there, because a lot of times you'll hear this term, cultural fit. Cultural fit does not come from your work. Cultural fit comes from the fact that who you are as a person, because a lot of times companies do this thing called personality hiring, right? Where even if your skills are not absolutely best, like a very good kind of skills can be developed. Like just we saw Locify. I know a lot of people nowadays use Framer. Before that, people were using Webflow. Before that, Squarespace. Tools, skills, keep upgrading, keep updating. What doesn't change is how you approach them. And that approach comes from the fact that who you are as a person. So that is one thing. And then while you're also creating this brand, remember that you have to still send it to someone, and those someones are like recruiters, hiring manager. So you need to figure out that what parts are they interested in right now to see that, oh, I can quickly assess who is this person, what do they bring to the table, what value do they bring, and that's what I want to see quickly. Because essentially with resume and portfolio, there's something that I mentioned last time as well when we were doing the first session, is that they do not give you job. Resume and portfolio do not give you job. What they give you is that opportunity to get on a call to interview with someone. So essentially they're tools to intrigue and interest someone enough in you to give you a call and get you on call to like talk to you in 30 minutes, 45 minutes, so that they can get to know you better. So think about them as more of those tools. And I mean, so last event we had another panelist, Joe. If you actually meet him in real life, he's loud, he swears a lot, but he's super fun. And if you actually go and see his portfolio, it's the exact same thing. And that is another what cohesive means. I don't want to see a whole different brand identity on your portfolio, LinkedIn resume, and then when you sit in front of me, you're this completely different person. That's also not going to work, right? So what Adi was mentioning, right? It has to be the complete cohesive narrative from really who you are, how you represent yourself in the real world, and then how you represent yourself in that digitalized version as well. So I think that is very important to have that idea that it's all, yes, you want to present yourself, but present to someone, and what do you present?
Yeah, I mean, kind of just to bridge that of like, how does this stem into just, now that you have the tools, now how do you use it to go network, right? We're always so caught up in our portfolio, making sure it looks all pretty, making sure it's like pixel perfect. But at the end of the day, it's like, then you often forget that we still have to market that tool, and we still have to put it out there. And, you know, it's probably one of the most daunting things as a designer, is to just put it out there, because we always fear about feedback, critique. We fear that it's not good enough. We fear about our competition. But at the end of the day, it's you are your own best marketer, and you only know your best work, right? And no one's going to market it for you. No one's going to show it for, you know, put yourself in an interview and do it like, and let them kind of speak for yourself. You know, it's very much your responsibility, and how do you approach that? And I think going into the whole networking aspect, it's a very daunting word. When we hear the word networking, we're always like, I don't want to do that. It seems like almost near impossible, because a lot of us are introverted. A lot of us don't like to go into big groups. We like to be independent. I am myself. And I'm also terrified just sitting up here. And it's a lot, like we go through so many ups and downs in terms of just being in tune with our emotions just to be in this career. And I think that's okay. All of our feelings are valid. And at the end of the day, I think that's why you you want to kind of change that mindset of, instead of networking, just treat it as, hey, I go to this event, I might meet a new friend. I might meet someone that has familiarity and has similarities of what they want to do. But yeah, that's kind of how I've shifted my mindset in terms of what it means to network. I never go into any event thinking that I'm going to get my next job. I never think that I'm going to get my next opportunity, because I think the minute we think that way, you automatically put a lot of stress on yourself. You put a lot of weight on yourself that seemingly you're already kind of setting yourself up for failure. And so like, you're here now, take the time after this event to just try to get someone in this room and just have a genuine connection. I think if you can come away with just one honest connection where you feel like, hey, I'm going to stay in contact with this person. I'm going to connect with them at least once more and just see what happens. Whether it's a friend, whether it's someone that you're just going to work with collaboratively at a coffee shop, whether it's you just share a common interest, I think that's a win. And from there, you can treat that as like a baby step in terms of, this is my first way of networking. And just let it grow from there. And then gradually over time, it's going to get easier. It's going to get more comfortable. And you'll find yourself in a much better place.
I can also add to that too. Like, I know that one thing about networking is like, how the hell I approach that person, right? Sometimes you feel intimidated and you're like, how do I get to talk to you? But if you imagine when you're like a kid and you're kind of, I'm gonna yell. It's more fun. But yeah, like when you were a kid, it's more of like, you just want to know this person. I just like your cardigan, or just like your shirt, or like your shoes, or just like the weather today is just so hot. Like, are you feeling like sweaty as well? That's the really basic friendly conversation to start. Just everywhere. And if you like think about that, it's like basically you just want to make new friends. And that's one thing that brings in actually more genuine connection with people. Trust me, a lot of people that work in those companies that you dream to work in, they got approached in a way that people see them more of a position than a person. And if you actually got approached that way, I understand that it doesn't feel as great, right? Because a human has identity. Position is not a human identity, right? So when you approach anyone, like just ask Jen and say, I second that again, is like, be human, approach as a human, strike a really friendly conversation. It doesn't even need to lead anywhere. As long as you build a connection there, I think it will get somewhere already. And in that way, it's funny because that is how you build connection without aiming to get anything back. But that's the best way to get connection. But when you want to go and be like, give me this, and I'm like, wait, what? Who are you? And like, oh, I'm this. I'm like, calm down. Like you need to calm down. So that's another thing. Like, you don't go talk to people, go to networking events. Just as it's like your playground. Be yourself. That's identity that Shiva mentioned. Then be respectful, wanting to understand who that person is, not where that person works. And that's when you're gonna make a more and better connection that lasts long, and it will give you something. You will never know who you bump into today. It might give you the job opportunities in the next year. You never know, right? So yeah, be mindful, be human, be kind. That's all I'm asking. Okay.
So yeah, just what Nara was saying, that we have a question around it. Sorry, that it says that cold email they say or network, but what do you message or start the conversation with? Because it looks very obvious they're doing the small talk to ask for a referral later. How to make an honest connection and not just for the job. And I think that kind of answers what just Nara was saying, right? And I mean, to give a quick analogy, think about your friend circle. You have friends that you can rely on. But you didn't start making friends with them because you relied on them initially, right? You just became friends. You are meeting each other. You grow, grow close and everything. And then 6 months later, you need something. You can reach out to this person, ask for support. Like, hey, I need help with this. You would not just straight up walk downstairs, catch somebody who's walking on the street and be like, no, help me with this. Obviously not. Like they're gonna punch you probably, which is the least worst thing that they can do in your job. So that's the idea. Like essentially, think about it as making friends. And how do you make friends? You find something that you both resonate on, something that really drives you, something that interests you, right? So those are some of the things that I think, like for me, works in that way, where I just think about friends. I'm not thinking like what Tara said about my next job, how this person can open opportunities for me. But something is happening.
Why me?
Why
Why
you
pick up me?
I'm not picking up
Am
on
I
you.
your friend?
No.
Oh.
You're my network.
See how that word is like very strong?
Define network, please.
Yeah.
Am I a
I reach out to
community
you
or
for
network?
job applications.
I
and
don't
reach
have
out to
any
you.
position for you, so no.
But you see the difference, right? When you say it network, it's just like has a little negative connotation almost when you put it into that perspective. Versus if I call Nara my friend, which would be untrue, but if I did, it would be nice, right? Anyway, the point being, I can give you another just example. I was a week ago, I was in another panel, and one of the panelists mentioned like how they went to a friend's wedding and casually they met someone there and they were like talking and they're like, oh yeah, you know what, I'm actually out looking for a job. That was like, oh, our company is hiring. Let me get you connected with someone. And then they got into the interview call. Essentially, the idea is that put yourself out there, but in a genuine way, not with a tag that I'm looking for a job, who is going to give me a job. But as a person, like, hey, this is who I am. I am Shivam. Let's talk. And then let's see where that conversation grows to be.
So in a very easy way to digest, it's just like dating. See, now you guys smirk. Now you guys like, oh yeah, got it. Yeah, right? Like when you actually want to attract someone that actually have the same maybe hobbies or same mindset or same work ethic or mission. You want to work with those companies that have the same thinking. For me, I want to work in education technology because I love doing like education or community stuff, right? And then you will resonate so well when you actually jump on even the intro call or on the interview call because it's aligned. You don't have to force yourself to be like, yeah, I love baking.
And you're like, you can never touch butter, you know, but like, yeah, like this is identity that we talk about, like what you like and you love doing it. Then you convert it to your job, right? And yes, we have friends. I'm saying this on YouTube too. And amazingly, I met Shivam through ADPList. And I see someone ask a question about how can we build a close-knit design community? Again, it's similar. It's basically, do you have shared interests? Do you like drawing? Actually, also have a group of friends that I built through meeting on community event like this where we love drawing. So we actually group up on the weekend and we draw. Yeah, and then after it became like punch needles class, and now we're doing flower arranging. It's so wholesome, and I so treasure those people I met in this life because you don't have to feel like you're working, but your creativity is still being inspired. Be yourself, love what you do. There's a reason why you love it, right? And somebody will love it too. So don't worry. You don't have to keep changing yourself to be someone. You're yourself. Also for your life and your work. You know, I know this is a strong concept and be like, okay, I don't know, but like, why can't I get a job? Trust me, there'll be somewhere for you. Okay? Just don't lose hope.
So before today, I didn't know Nara, but now I know she likes drawing, so now I want to be her
Yeah,
friend.
see now we and let's see how we dress. Now we know like we're gonna go shopping together. Yes, right? Yeah. So you see like even this is very, very human topics. I like your jean jacket. That's basically right. And then we're like, hey, why do you get? I like your shoes. Like, okay, this is one weird thing. I love looking at people's shoes. And I know that's Campers, the twin collection.
Good eye.
See, and that catch conversations like, ooh, I know that's Camper, right? And then you'd be like, oh yeah, that conversation will get you somewhere. Trust me. Right? It's better than like, where do you work? Who are you? What's your position? Where do you graduate? Like, are you interviewing me? That's not how friend works. You know,
It's almost
Think
like you're
about this.
asking them, how can you add value to me versus showing what value you can add to them. Right.
also more like, I want to know you.
Yeah.
Basic, like just want to know you. Just that. I'm
So
just, yeah.
that's interesting because, and by the way, Jamie, hearing what you said reminded me of when I was back in your shoes. Definitely worried. And something I wish I'd have listened to my elders was there's nothing to worry about. You got to take it step by step. It does take time to get to where you need to go. There was something I often heard when I was younger. It's not what you know, it's who you know, right? And I challenged that all the time back in Philly because I thought, well, I don't know anybody. And what it turns out is it's what I knew that led me to who I know. So the more that I knew about how stuff got done, the more I can meet these people. For example, I don't know anything about architecture. How am I going to go to architecture events or talk about people about
You
architecture?
think the answer we
Don't know any of
provide
that stuff. I
is
know about design,
yes, or should
I
we
know about
actually
dev,
just
I know how things
talk
get put
about
together.
this?
And there was a conversation where
No?
I think already.
more importantly,
Just
another
let
thing
it
you
go.
guys should do is read about current designers and go to
No
their
virtual
events.
connection, then fine.
When you go to their events, you
I
can
can
talk
talk.
to them about what they did. You can say things you liked what they did. Sign of hands, how many people know Milton Glaser? Damn. I teach at FIT. When I ask people that question, they can't tell me who Milton Glaser is. I think that's a damn travesty. How many people in here know Debbie Millman? Awesome. And it's the ladies, but ladies, which is good because in a lot of cases, nobody knows female designers. Paula Scher? Okay, cool. We better know who she is. So Susanna Licco. Who is she?
She designs type.
Type, awesome. Type designer. Yes, absolutely. And how I met and worked with Milton Glaser is because I read about him in books. And when I came up from Philly and I saw him, I was like, holy shit, he's right there. And I just walked up to him and said, hi, I'm Joe. And I was like, this is all whatever. And it was amazing because he let me take a class with him at SVA. And I took that, he had this one-on-one class that he taught, and it just changed everything. And it was all because I knew who he was and I read about his stuff. I even got his Bob Dylan book and had him sign it for me. It was amazing. But the reason why I shared it with you guys is that the more that you read about what these other designers are doing, now you have something to talk about. Then when you see them in person, Who doesn't like to have their ego stroked? Everybody. They all want that. They all want to know, oh, you saw my stuff. That's amazing. You know, hey, I'm going to do something. And there's been times where I met designers like, hey, I'm going to this event tonight. You want to join me? Hell yeah. I'm there, stuttering and stammering all the way through. But the big thing is for you guys to really like know what you can do. What do you really want to do? You want to meet these guys? Okay, what do they do? I should be able to do what they're doing at a minimum. And trust me, you get around them and you just stroke that ego just a little bit, they will more than likely want to talk to you. And then that's when you got to have your stuff ready. Have your PDF ready on your phone. You're ready to pop that stuff up and say, yo, show it real quick. I know some people do business cards. I actually like the business card because it's very tangible versus just tapping with LinkedIn and moving forward. But still, that's something to think about when it comes to networking.
I want to add that I don't think what company, I don't think what company a person works at is going to really stroke their ego, saying like, oh my God, you work at this company? I want to know you. Rather, if you talk about the work that they do, I think that's a much better conversation starter. But very often, the messages I get on LinkedIn are, I'd love to learn about Bloomberg. Okay, go to their website.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
Add to that.
yeah.
Oh wait, go ahead.
I was just going to say again, like we can all like think all these big things or small things, right? Again, when you're walking on the streets of New York, you just pass by like, oh, your dog's cute. And that's literally you started the conversation right there and there, right? So I think it's all those small interaction that matters a lot more than asking like, oh, how much $1 million is your house worth? And let's start the conversation from there. Obviously, people are not going to feel comfortable. People are going to feel you're being intrusive and stuff. Small interactions, I think, goes a long way. I was going to put you in a question. Yeah.
I'm just gonna add something. I know I'll go to you soon, but you know the concept of being a detective, right? It sounds very, very dark, but you know, you can search online, you can ask ChatGPT, you can actually look at emotional connection. Like there's a lot of resources out there rather than just like go there and ask like, I want to know about Bloomberg. Of course, if like I get that same question, I'd be like, then how's it related to me just because I work there, you know? But if it's more like, I want to know about your work, this project that you work here, it's so like, it's my thesis research. I want to know like why you did that. Then that person might want to talk to you, right? Some people usually like, okay, there's something I see on LinkedIn too where people hit me up with blah, 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 like a tons of paragraph and it's all about them. It's a me. You think I have the energy to actually digest that? Like that's a big giant paragraph. Like, okay, of course I want to know you, but at the same time, like, this is about me or you, right? So always concerned about that too. Like when you approach people, like maybe do some detective work, like what they like, what did they do before? Some people even have interviews on their YouTube. Go listen to that. Learn how to speak. What is their values? Right? Like some people value being kind. Some people value being creative. Some people value having multiple jobs. And then look into the aligned value if that is something or someone that you want to learn from. Then I think that is when you should approach those people. Right? There's something about like cold email or LinkedIn. Yes, if it's a recruiter, I will say be direct so they know exactly you coming here for this title. Don't waste their time because they're a recruiter. But if it's someone like decision maker or creative director or some like product leads that you might be working with or they manage, maybe try to build a connection around them as you are interested in their project or you actually also polishing this project which align with what they're building, right? See the value match and strike the conversation in a way that it won't feel like intimidated to them. So I have a crazy Gantt chart of my life that I planned for the whole year in Notion. And because I did not get a chance to talk to Lennis in person when I met him at the event, so I hit him up on LinkedIn and say like, I want to know that Notion changed my life. Like it allowed me to plan my whole year and be able to travel, be in 5 different places, host events, also still travel, come back here. I was everywhere with Notion. And I know this is not a unique way to use a PM or note-taking tools. I use it for my life Gantt chart. He replied. We have a conversation, which is like, and I think that's it. Like, you know, this is something that
I want you guys to maybe like try to get into it, like approach people out of the same shared interest, or just because you really like happy with their products. Yeah. So maybe I hope that helps.
Yeah. We'll take a quick question and then we are going to move to the second one.
I don't have a question. I just wanted to add that I
Oh.
remember I messaged the girl on LinkedIn because she had the same name as mine. And I just messaged like, oh, I'm Alexandra too, and I'm from Ukraine too, and I also UX designer. And we became friends.
Yeah.
And I got a referral from her. So I think it can be very easy. You just need to find some.
But you know, that's interesting because most of you guys reach out to designers, right? Or creatives.
Yes.
How come we're not going to dev or product managers?
Oh,
or
I messaged
associates?
devs.
I
Usually
see,
don't reply.
and I find that to be a fundamental challenge with designers. So they'll go to a design event expecting to find jobs with designers. And the market's really tough right now. So why am I gonna hire you to potentially take my job? I'm not doing that. You go in there, hey, nice to meet you, I'll review your book. But am I really gonna help you get a job unless we're cool and I know you're not gonna try to take my stuff? No. So where do we go then? And I find this like, the look I see on everybody's faces right now, like, well, where do you go? Kevin Richard, who unfortunately isn't here today, he's someone that I've had the fortunate of being mentored, even though I'm his mentor, I find it to be, I'm learning more from him. He went to the tech day, went table to table, talked to people, hey, I'm a designer. I can help you with your stuff, sort of putting out things in the work. And I saw him walking around, I'm like, dude, that's what I do. And I'm a shark in the water. I'm looking for those big opportunities. And this guy, who's probably the age of you cats, was doing that. So instead of going to design events to talk with designers that are probably not going to give you a job because they're scared about their own job, you got to go to other places. When I first came to New York, I wasn't going to design events. I couldn't stand those things. One, I was wildly intimidated. I thought I sucked. I'm like, I can't beat these guys. I'm not good. And that was only in my head. I was the only person telling me I wasn't good. So what did I do? I went to other events. I went to a funeral director's event. You know why? No, it's silly. There were no other designers there. Guess who's getting projects? This guy right here, you're right. But you know what's funny? Is that I was finding work.
But do you like the project?
It didn't matter. To me, it's all the same. Work is work.
The users were not alive. So.
No, that's not true. The people who are placing the orders, right? But my point being is that you keep going to the same pool that everybody's going to. And you need to get out of that. There are billions of other opportunities out there. Tech Day events one. How many's going to the Brooklyn Tech event? Cool. They got, or Civic Hall. How many people go to Civic Hall? Definitely recommend that. You know why? Because they have an event coming up on robotics. And guess what? Those robots, they need designers. And you can parlay your skills into that stuff. I mean, up here we have a bunch of architects, former architects that are now in UX. Why can't we as designers get into stuff that are doing robotics? So these are the things that I did to make sure that I was not. So confidence is something that you do all the time, and your confidence is going to come out perfect. Let's take on your shoes, right? Put clothes on, whatever. But courage is the faith that you're going to do it just like you would in confidence, but something brand new for the first time. Like if I ask you guys to like build a lawnmower, how do I do that? I have no idea, but I have courage that I'm going to make it work because I've done all these other things that make it work. So that's when you step out of your comfort zone. And it's, again, instead of going to like these AIG events and all these big things that are just strictly focused on design, take a look at something else. You may find something.
And learn to pitch the ROI of design when you're there.
Yeah. But okay, so we are going to continue. We still have a lot to talk about. But again, so the next prompt that I think a lot of people would want to know about is just around, so we spoke a lot about networking, but networking leads to what? Job search, right? So we'll quickly touch upon like job search strategies. I know there are a couple of questions in the Dory as well. I don't need to like specifically call them out, but it is around job search, right? And maybe I can like quickly kick us off. Again, analogy, right? The way I see job search is dating. You have to put yourself out there. You cannot be locked into your own room and be like, I want to date someone. Not going to happen, right? You can install apps, which is essentially your portfolio in the context of design and research or whatever you're doing. But again, it's not going to help unless you start sending it out to people, right? And but you know, a lot of time what helps, oh, I have a friend of my friend who you might want to date. And that's essentially that goes back to your networking. But once you start telling your friends, hey, you know what, after that toxic relationship, I think 6 months been done, I'm ready to get back into the market. And they're like, oh yeah, you know what, I know this person, maybe you want to go out with them. And it's so much easier because then you already have this trust factor because somebody is vouching for someone. That's what referrals are for companies. Oh, my employee is vouching for someone. Let me take a look at this person first over all the 1,000 applications that I've received online. And they are going to take a look at those. And that's what we want to do. And essentially, do you guys know about the pyramid scheme? I was going to start one, but I guess you guys know. But essentially, what happens is you bring in 2 people, those 2 people bring 2 people, those 2 people bring 2 people, and that goes on and on and on, right? Essentially, that is what networking is. If you know 10 people in your first orbit, in your second orbit, you probably know 20 more. So that's 30 is who you know. But if you know 15, that suddenly increases your number. If you know 50, that increases your number even more. Because that is how it happens. Recently, somebody reached out to me like, oh, I'm looking job in this company. Do you happen to know anyone? Let me take a look. I knew someone. I just connected them both. And then they continued the conversation from there. But that's the idea, that you have to put yourself out there and you have to meet people because people know people. And that's how you're going to increase your orbit of who you know, who you can connect with, how can you connect with them, and essentially just go forward from there. So I think that is what I do in terms of job search strategies. Yes, you can keep applying on LinkedIn, you can keep updating your portfolio every single day. You wake up and then before night crying into the bed, you update your portfolios again and again. And that's fine, keep doing it. But I think what's more important is, like I said earlier, people spend around a minute or 2 on your portfolios, less than 10 seconds on your resume. Those things are not getting you jobs. Those are getting you interviews. But also what helps you get interviews is networking. So just put yourself out there. But that's my job search strategy, is just like putting myself out there.
Okay, I'm gonna add into that in terms of your head will be spinning right now, like, okay, how the hell I put myself out there, right? Like, okay, sure, I want to date, but like where? Sure, I want to have a like work, but where? Like events like this helps, or like tech event helps. Anyone went to Config this year?
What's wrong?
Oh, you watched it. Okay, that's not bad. The reason I always register for event is to get the names or the LinkedIn or the emails of people who register there. I might find some fish that I really feel like this is the right fish, right? And that's in one strategy. Sign up for those events, even though you cannot attend in person. Make sure you look at the list of attendees, trying to add them there. This is some hack I do. And second thing is go to the community events, like ADPList always hosts like a picnic or stuff. Sometimes people so one of my mentors, Mauro, and Mauro used to be like creative director. Right now he's a creative director of PayPal, right? And that's another way, like we happen to be in New York. He happens to be just 5 blocks away from my house. Then we actually just grab coffee. That's how I met the creative director of PayPal right now. But you can also do this. You're in New York. New York is one very unique city that you can actually meet almost everyone you can dream of. New York or West Coast, right? San Francisco. That is the key. LinkedIn has where they live. When you hit them up, maybe you kind of like, hey, I also live in Brooklyn, you know? Like if you're actually like wanting to grab coffee or have some time, I would say the rate of success will be around 10, which is really low. Not everybody have time. Just don't get like frustrated by that. At least reach out, right? Third one is also LinkedIn, you know? LinkedIn, not just to LinkedIn. Look into your network right now, your connection right now, see who they connect with. And if you find a job that you want to work, or maybe like someone you need a referral, maybe look at that network if they can introduce you to that of their own network, so you can actually get the referral. Referral will make you get into the job interview much faster than just regularly applying. Okay, so you're catching up, right? Like events, in person, LinkedIn. I kind of forgot the third one, but I think you guys remember. And then I think what else? Maybe
Somebody else want to share?
yeah.
I think apart from that I mentioned.
I was going to say, on the note of meeting people in person, I think after COVID, it's like a struggle getting to get out there and see people in real life. But whenever you do, if you meet an interesting person, immediately follow up, because that's when you're fresh in their mind. They know who you are. So if you reach out to them on LinkedIn that day and say, hey, I really enjoyed our conversation, or I loved your talk during this panel, they're gonna know who you are and where you were. So that's like the immediate connection. And that's how I got my current job, by doing that, exactly. So it works.
That's how I got every job. Every job I ever got was based on that.
And we can continue on the same thought because we have like 2 questions. How do you reapproach connections without seeming annoying? And how do you follow up with new connections after event networking is over?
I'd like to go for the first one, please. Yeah. So how do you not sound annoying? Because I get dozens a week of people looking for work and opportunities. And yeah, it's overwhelming. Do not take offense to it if I don't get back to you right away. I do my best. Similar to Nara, I do my best to get back to you right away. But I'm under, obviously, a lot of other things I'm trying to get done. And everybody wants something. And I wish I could help everybody, but not all in the same day. However, find creative ways to get to them. So not everybody checks LinkedIn all the time. Or like I said, their boxes are overloaded. Are there events they might be going to? Troll them on LinkedIn, right? Like their posts or make a comment to their post, because you know what happens? They see that post. They're a lot quicker to see that post than they are to go check their email. Strategy tip right there. When you guys see somebody that's doing something you like it, make a comment to it or reshare it. Something I do quite often. If someone gets a job, I write good luck. You know why? Because now I'm on their radar and I go look and see if they have opportunities there. Oh, I know someone that you may want to hire. That's how I get to these guys. It's all through the post. It isn't through the messages. And the other thing is, if you repost somebody's stuff, another master tip right there, repost their stuff with your comments to it, praising for what they do. That's another way to stroke the ego. That's another way to say, hey, thank you so much. And you stay on their radar.
Jimmy, do you want to?
Yeah, I mean, on the topic of how to not be annoying, I think, in my opinion, it's like, if they find you annoying, they're probably not the right person for you, to be this way. Because at the end of the day, we're in a very dense city. There's a lot of people here. You're not going to please everyone in anything you do. And so, and that's okay. I think you just really have to actually not take offense to it and just move on. And that's really what it comes down to. And then kind of going back to like, okay, community. Like, for crying out loud, we're in New York City, of all places. And I think we often forget that. And we forget how much resources we have here, how massive the opportunity is here, as like complicated as overwhelming it can seemingly feel. I get it. But at the same time, that's one of the reasons I moved here to begin with, right? It's like, because there is so much here and I have that access. And I think it's one thing for us to always feel like, we're in a very isolated kind of feeling and we're like feeling like it's a lonesome battle. But the minute you're able to put yourself out there and actually talk to other people, especially outside of the industry, you're going to quickly know you're not alone. Everyone's having the same fight and we're all in it together. And to kind of bridge, like, how do you find those communities? One example I love to give is there's a group called Creative Mornings. Has anyone been to one of their events ever? No. Okay. Well, if you haven't, I definitely encourage looking at Creative Mornings. The headquarters is here in NYC, and they host one event every month. And it usually lands on a Friday morning. But all it is you essentially are in a big room full of creative people, not necessarily all designers, but now there's always a host of a creative talk of some sort for you to get inspired, for you to hear about someone else's creative pathway. And it's literally just a morning session of networking. And yes, it's very hard to network at 8 in the morning, but I think when you're in that room, you realize everyone has one common goal. And that is just to see what other people are doing and what other people are, how they're exploring their kind of work or how they're trying to find their next job. And you just get a different perspective. And then on top of that, they recently launched a pilot program of creating creative morning clubs, where now it's self-initiated, where you can create your own club. So there's book clubs, there's magazine clubs, there's photography clubs, just about anything you can imagine. And I have found a lot of value in that, where I've been able to just, I've just been able to really just bridge outside of just talking to designers. And it's been super helpful for me just because I think mentally it can be very draining when you're just in and out doing design, breathing design, just intaking all of that. But now like I do all these other clubs where it's not necessarily relevant in relation to design. And it's been very freeing. It's been very much, I go with the flow. I meet people not in the industry. I meet people who do other things. And it's been just very healthy for me, I feel. And I think that's one of the best things you can do, especially here when everyone is trying to find their own communities, and that's really on you. It's, there's a lot here, obviously, but it's on you to kind of find and dig through the ones that actually fit what you're looking for.
Another place is ADPList. Yeah, sign up on it, sign up on the email. I got a lot of questions like, how can I know about the next event that you guys host? Sign up on the emails, you get the newsletter, and then you can sign up for the event as fast as maybe before me when they launch out the link. Another really classic one is Meetup, which I think some of you guys might have heard of it. For me, I tried out, but not actually worked for me, but might work for you guys. The third one is I go to events. There's like an event hosted by Lickability, which is designer meetup. And I actually found so many friends that I really treasure. Like we have similar career goal, we have similar interests, and it doesn't need to always be work, but it's something that helpful for work. And we help each other on like auto critique and those stuff. When you actually align, sometimes you found your own community as well. I just struggle finding my own community until I'm like, I think I hit Catherine up and I'm like, I want to host events for the first time. That's how I met Jamin for the mentor only ADPList. And hey, we almost, I think we're a year together now, right? Like that we've been hosting events. And then I met Shimam, then I met Joey, and now, nice to meet you,
best
baby.
friend.
Yes, we're gonna go shopping together, baby. But yeah, this is how everything began. Show yourself, get out there, know that you want it, try to get it, right? Apart from that, I'll let somebody else add.
I have a quick question. How many of you are currently studying design? In school. Okay, still many of you. So even if you don't go out to these events, there's probably events coming to you. Your teachers are probably bringing in guest speakers for your lectures, and those are probably credible people within the design industry that it's worth for you to connect to. So if they come and speak in your class, connect with them, get to know them.
And your teacher might know someone that you might want them to refer you to. So don't forget to ask your teacher.
So when you mentioned ADPList, I actually had no idea what ADPList was. And it was a friend of a friend that referred me to talk to this guy, Stephen Gates. And I didn't know who he was. So here I am on a call with Stephen, which you guys know who Stephen Gates is? Anybody? You should, look him up. So anyway, I meet this guy, Stephen. Stephen says, hey, Joey, he's from Pittsburgh, I'm from Philly. Like, hey, what's going on? He says, yeah, we got this mentoring thing. I heard you're kind of good with it. He's like, you're going to talk to this guy, Felix. They're going to have a call with a bunch of people and we'll see what's up. And I thought, all right, really bizarre, but okay. So I take this call with him. This is right after COVID, like the big announcement of COVID. And I got to talk to Felix. I'm like, oh, this guy, he seems like a cool guy. Again, didn't know if met him, right? And he says, we're going to be doing this thing, it's ADPList. We've been at it for a while. We're looking for mentors and stuff. And that is how I got into ADPList. And by slowly keeping up with him, doing mentoring, that kind of thing with the group, eventually became what I have now. So again, a lot of times things, they come to you, you may not know exactly what it is at first. And unless it gives you a bad feeling, like I've mentioned before, about it's going to be toxic or something, then obviously you get away from it. But it gave me a relatively good feeling. I thought, yeah, I love giving back to the community. I wouldn't mind helping out a few people. I didn't realize how many people was going to be involved in all of it, because obviously it took off. But again, give you an idea of like when something comes up, you may not exactly see what it is right out the gate, but give it a little bit of time and hopefully it'll turn out something positive.
Before we go next, I just quickly want to touch upon the one aspect of the previous question, which was reapproach, right? And there's a strategy that I use because you meet so many people. Very simple. Maintain a Google sheet, write the name of the person you met, where they work, what position they work, but more importantly, 2 to 3 bullet points that really stood out to you in that conversation. Because earlier, like, everybody was mentioning that, the ego part, you can bring that up, like, hey, you know what, we met 6 months ago, you might not remember me, but you had mentioned this and this, and I've been trying to implement that. It's been super helpful, appreciate your thoughts. Hey, I'm reaching out again. And people will be more open to, reaching out and asking you and taking that forward. So just like super simple, you don't have to do something super fancy. You connect and you forget. No, just maintain this, and you can always refer back to your slide, your sheet, and see who is on there and who's not, right?
I'm gonna let her ask
Yes.
questions.
No, I actually want to recommend Type Thursdays. It happens in New York.
Yes, that's another one I
So,
went to too.
Like, it's usually on a Thursday every month,
Yeah.
and it's an the venue keeps shifting. It's usually an ad agency sometimes or a design studio, and you meet people who are working on type projects that are not designers.
Yep.
So it's really interesting to see how people think and just get to hear them speak. And a bonus, you don't have to pay if you're a presenter.
Yeah.
So you kind of learn how to also pitch in a way. So that's also a recommendation.
Yeah, so Type Thursday. And if anybody wanna have a company called Web Wednesday, hit me up. I kind of wanna do it for so long.
Actually, have you guys heard of Poster House?
Yeah.
Absolutely go to Poster House. I take advantage of that every Friday. First Friday of the month, get over there. It's free. Check it out. Bring some friends with you.
Quick question. Are you fully like plugging things right now? Because I have some stuff to plug too.
Oh, sure. Go
Yes.
for it.
Okay, so I'm from like the Tableau world, kind of. If you know what Tableau is, you make pretty charts. And I run 2 Tableau user groups. They actually haven't had Civic Hall because I used to work there. As of Monday, I was laid off, but it was still great, networking. But I run 2 Tableau user groups. I run Data Pride New York City, and I run the API Asian and Pacific Calendar Tug. It doesn't matter who you are. If you're interested, you can join us. But you can go to the Tableau user group website. You just search up Tableau user group, and you can look up events that's happening. The API one is online, but if you're interested in an in-person one, Data Pride New York City, we're doing that in person. I believe the last week of October, it's Halloween themed. We're gonna buy you guys drinks. Come get some food.
I didn't hear anything else.
I don't need it.
No, yeah, no. Salesforce? Sure, yeah. But, yeah, if anyone's interested, contact me later.
Actually, for
I
the
will catch
designers,
you later.
the designers should know what Tableau is. And if you guys don't, that's definitely impacting your opportunities for getting into what we do.
Give them a chance.
Just being the fear of God over here,
Give them a
you know
chance.
that.
Now you guys know it's okay, it's forgiven. We can move on.
But you see, you can also network on shared trauma also, right? So just FYI.
Yeah.
But okay, moving forward, I think the next prompt that we quickly want to talk about is, so you have done networking, you've started looking for a job, and now you have this opportunity maybe to interview with them, right? So then the question comes, we are going to talk to real people. How do we communicate with recruiters and hiring managers? Like, how do we make sure that they want to call us for the second round? How do we make sure that they call us for the 3rd round, the 4th round, the 5th round, however many rounds there are? So we can talk about that. Does anyone want to kick us off? Jamin, do you have thoughts, or don't want to put you in spot, but you're good.
Yeah, I mean, in this climate, I don't know how many people have dealt with recruiters here, but I've definitely had my fair share. And I think one thing I like to remind people is that they're human too. They're still doing a job. And I think it's because of the demand right now on the job market. It's been a common theme I've seen that recruiters are getting a very bad rep now because people feel like they're being targeted, or they feel like they're being completely ignored, and it feels personal, right? But I think it's like, you have to remember, they're also doing their own job and they're fulfilling their quota, and they're doing the best they can. And that's why oftentimes they're not going to be able to respond to you. And it's not because of you, it's just because there is that much demand. And, give yourself some grace, give them some grace, and just know it's not always going to be the case of they are ignoring you. It's usually not. But I think the biggest thing for me is always just be very candid and honest with them with what you're looking for, because once you do, it's going to make them a lot easier for them to kind of figure out if you're going to be the right fit. It's going to save you time, it's going to save them time. So the more you're able to be on the dot with very clear bullet points of exactly your role that you're needing or how much salary you're expecting, your rates. I think that's one of the most common questions I always ask up front is just like, what's the budget? You know, what is the client's like most ideal thing for this to actually go through? Because there's often times where I get a job and I'm like, yeah, that's not going to pay enough, or you know, this is not going to quite meet what I'm looking for. Then we save ourselves both a lot of time and effort and energy, and it's okay. You know, I think we often take it personal of, did we do something wrong? Did we say something wrong? But more often than not, it's like if it doesn't fit the criteria, then you just go on to the next one.
I just quickly want to add to what Jamin mentioned, like, you know, like what he said, be empathetic to recruiters as well, because if you realize when layoffs started happening, they were the first ones to go, and then they were followed by others, right? So their jobs were also impacted a lot. It made the people who stayed behind jobs even tougher, right? So I think that is very, very important that we realize that how are they doing their job and how can we make it easy for them to do their job, because that helps you again to stand out, right? And to give a quick personal anecdote, I remember I was interviewing with a company and it was the evening call, like around 4:35. So I was the last interview of the day. And this recruiter came like 5 minutes late and they were already just like disheveled, like feeling tired. You could see it on their face. And the way I started was like, hey, I know you've been probably interviewing a lot during the entire day. If you want, take another 5 minutes from my time. I don't mind. Go take a breather, go drink some water, and I'll be back here sitting in this virtual call anyway, and we can continue the conversation. I did clear that round. We only had like 15 minutes to talk about, but that recruiter later told me that is something that made me stand out during the entire day's conversation, right? So again, I'm not saying do it thinking that you want to be, I want to be kind today, and I'm going to make this old lady cross the road even though she doesn't want to. Let's not do that. But let it come naturally, like how you would want somebody you want to treat yourself, just kind of treat the other people. But yeah, that's just personal activity.
I got one advice from my recruiter that I worked with her for a year now, and she was like, the tips to interview people and make it uplifting. And she asked the people that she interviewed that, what's the best thing that happened to you today? And it's kind of lift up the moments a little bit, and like the interviewee might feel like a little bit more like comfortable or like able to just be themselves. You know, those kind of little things counts a lot. Like before, I also teach online. So before I teach, first thing I ask my student is like, hello, did you guys eat? You have water nearby you? Stay hydrated. You know, those kind of stuff, like little things really, really count. It's because you're a human. You connect with them as a human and you see them as a human. Like, be kind. And I've been seeing some people been like blasting some like LinkedIn posts about recruiter not responding or like kind of like some bad thing, or like screaming on LinkedIn like somebody hired me or something. Like, I understand the frustration, but trust me, it's almost just like you went out to the road right now and screamed like, give me a job. You think someone will care? That will make you look even worse, right? So that's something that like, just be kind. They're human. You do your best. Be kind to yourself too. Know your self-worth, right? It's not about you. Market is really tough right now. So yeah, just stay kind, please. That's all. Yeah.
I think it's pretty difficult to, self-evaluate your communication style and how did you come across when you first spoke to that recruiter. And something that has helped me a lot is honestly asking the recruiter or anyone that I'm talking to in an interview, how did I do? Do you have any reservations to hiring me, or do you have any second thoughts? And a lot of the times it's a question that puts people in an uncomfortable position because they don't know if they can respond to you. But sometimes they do get back to you and give you honest feedback. And given that the number of interviews you're likely going to do is going to be high, you are likely to get some feedback as to this is how you came across, this is why we didn't move forward, or something along those lines.
Plus one to that question. That's my favorite question. It like really makes the other person uncomfortable. But it also kind of gives you that real feedback and also gives you the opportunity to fix something that they might tell, because a lot of times you might not have meant it that way. But a misunderstanding is then that's what the person is going to think that, oh, this person was, rubbish. But no, this gives you the opportunity that, oh, that's not the case. Here is what I actually meant. So it gives you the opportunity. It also like shows that you're open to feedback. You're open to getting critique and stuff like that. So definitely my favorite
But
question.
you have to be very careful because HR is legally bound by what they talk about.
Yes, sometimes.
So that's a lot of the reason why they don't give you feedback. So, for example, recently there was this Ed Key job that I saw in Cali, and they said it was remote. No, they said it was remote. I'm like, all right, cool, remote. It says remote California. Does that mean I'm going to be in California? Let me be stupid. Do I have to be in California for it to be remote? So I applied. They replied back saying, "No, sorry, you can't get the job." Like, well, you could have told me because it's based in Cali. That's not being discriminatory to me. That's just saying you can't get the job because you're not based in California. So sometimes like, they have these like weird little things they don't really point out that they may not say it's remote but California. I didn't understand what that meant, but I just tried it anyway. But another thing, again, reiterating my point earlier, is that HR is legally bound to not say something because it could be discriminatory. Oh, you're a woman. You're not from this country. You're going to need this. You're going to need that. Oh, you're pregnant. Whatever it is, they can't say any of that stuff, which is why you normally don't get feedback, which it wasn't always like that. But because people did a lot of bad stuff, HR got really tight with what they talk about. So this is why most companies, if not all, don't give you feedback. And it's important, quick plug, for ADPList, because then you get people like us that will give you a candid review and will look at you for who you are. Like, for example, I see a lot of guys work, there's typos. Typos! How do you have a typo? You're a designer, come on. Even if English is your second language, you're in this country, you're trying to do this work. Yes, you can use a spell checker to figure that out. Absolutely, that's all on you. Or other things I see, they send me a link to their prototype. Prototype don't work, done. You get that one shot. And I think a lot of times we get so caught up in trying to get the opportunity that we forget that we have all this work that we need to show to be perfect. So instead of having like this gigantic portfolio of work, just have two projects. Show me Figma, show me you're doing some stuff in Figma. If you're in design systems, show me some components and tokens that you're going and doing. Or if you're in UX, show me some of your research, and that's it. If I can't get the vibe off of two of your projects, either there's something wrong with me or you're not the right fit.
I just want to call out two worse things than typos. One is just saying hi and leaving it at that. And second, being factually wrong. I hope that person doesn't see this anywhere, but somebody reached out, "Hey, hi Shivam, I see that you work at Amazon, so can we talk?" I don't work at Amazon. I've never worked at Amazon. It's nowhere on my, I don't even own a Prime account. I use my friend's account. I am that far from Amazon. So it's important that yes, you want to reach out to a lot of people, but when you do, don't make mistakes, because then it starts off in a very weird way where I'm like, oh no, I don't really work for Amazon, so I guess we don't really have to talk. Because after that, whatever they say is like, they didn't really like mean it or anything, right? So just be factually right. Send message to 10 people, that's fine, but be factually right.
Yeah, like
Spell the
doing
name
your
right too.
research.
Yeah, spell
Yeah,
yeah,
spell the
that's
person's
typos,
name right.
but yeah.
Don't say Peter when you're talking to Shimon.
That happens on ADPList actually a lot. Sometimes people will be like, hey XYZ, can we talk and schedule a session? But
Yeah.
they probably just copy paste it from some other.
Yeah, copy pasting is dangerous.
Like, just do your research about the person you talk to too, because their LinkedIn is right there, right? Do the research. Maybe you study at the same school, or maybe like you might just have same interests. Look at them, like who are they? You know, again, humankind. That's the word I keep repeating here. And one thing about like if you get into the intro interview call is basically studying the company missions and also the kind of like the word, the vibe. That's one thing. The vibe of the company, does it sync with your vibe? You know, people are not hired just for work. They're hired for their personality as well. So also know that you can shine, even in the first intro. Intro call is basically getting to know you. That's the whole thing, right? It's not even like how much you make, this company impact in which whatever way, but do read the job description carefully, do homework on it, understand what they are actually hiring you to do, right? Make sure you understand that. That's basically that's all, you know. I think some of the people might not even read the job description throughoutly and then highlight the main thing, just because you're so frustrated that you actually have to just keep applying 10 per day, right? And you just mass apply.
and then you get miserable at the end of the day that nobody contact me. Like, did you read through that job description and understand it's for you or it's not for you? You know, like know your battle. That's one thing.
And actually, a quick way to do it, I'm assuming most of you guys are probably using chat in some capacity. Take the job description, put it in, ask chat to say, hey, am I a good match? LinkedIn does it on the premium, but if not, do GPT.
Yeah.
And then once it says what you can and can't do, see if there's some wiggle room in it. I know a lot of times with this ATS stuff, everybody's got the wrong conception about what ATS really does. Because you can hit a really high mark in ATS, you can totally revamp your resume and wait for it, which is absolute BS because they see right through that stuff. But even when you go to it, if you're not an exact match, but you have a lot of the traits they're looking for, they'll still give you a shout. I've had opportunities where I was like, I did the ATS check, I was at like 72%. I still got a call. Didn't go anywhere, but still got the call. Versus ones that I was like really high, I'm like, oh yeah, this is definitely gonna happen.
I have like a little bit of post on that for ATS. It's like ATS actually put yourself right into the recruiter eyes, the human eyes, right? So it's kind of like you kind of do need to care a little bit about ATS just to make the bot not reject you at first. So basically, that's why I said go back and read the job description. If those keywords synchronize with your resume, you should apply. And that's also will make your ATS score higher because it's actually who you are. I think, yeah, this is something that I will work on. It's like run it through ATS, run it through ChatGPT. And when you actually run it through ChatGPT, is that do the job description, put it in ChatGPT, upload your resume right there and say, give me 3 main bullet points of why I'm such a good candidate for this position. They will link between the job and your resume, and that is the connection point that you can start narrating your story around. The first interview, the second case study, and all those stuff. Be strategic about it, And that's the reason why 3 bullet point is because, when you actually present your work, all they can digest right now is 3. That's the most they can take at that moment. So yeah, this is a little bit tips around that. Use ChatGPT or AI. Yeah, go ahead.
So I'm always confused with with a resume. If that's that works for ATS or a designer side, because ATS only resume is kind of 1 column. But when I saw most designers, when I go through their portfolio, there's all the resumes there. When I look at designer resume, most 2 columns. So I always confuse.
It'll work. Yeah, ATS will work in 2 columns. So that's come a long way because back in the day, we just read straight across, so you would get part of the job description and then your keywords on the right side of that. So it's definitely gotten better. But more importantly, when you're doing this kind of stuff, designer resumes back in the day, just a couple of years ago, they were really pretty. Iconography, pictures, icons, all this kind of stuff. And now, no, because that gets in the way of the ATS. So why do you go in with just strictly type? And type can't be the fancy type because if the font doesn't register, it's not going to read.
It's just a blank document
Yep.
at the point of time, right? I mean, so for me, like I said, I will usually keep it very simple. You never see somebody who's trying to go into the legal space writing a legal paper as their resume, right? Somebody who's trying to become a developer or an engineer doesn't go and write a piece of code in Java and then submit that as a resume. A resume is a simple sheet of document that talks about your experience. More importantly, what impact did you create during those experiences? That's the job of resume. Done. Right? Single column, double column, doesn't really matter. Yes, there will be sometimes ATS that does better, but it's all internal tools. The free ones that you see on online, don't take them for the face value. This is almost like a guiding point where, hey, these are how ATS checker works. They're looking for experience, they're looking for your education and stuff like that, but that's about it. Don't take them as a solid truth.
Yeah, I'm sorry. There's one other thing they point out in the resumes is that they normally want you guys to have numeric values of something you've done, how many things you've done. And when I hear that, people are like, I didn't get any of those numbers. So there's some easy ways you guys can fluff those numbers up. For example, you could say I created X amount of prototypes that we landed in front of X amount of customers, which the customer could also be people in the company, and we achieved this result in X amount of weeks. Real basic. You did do that. There is no line in that. Now, granted, are you fluffing? That's okay, right? Because you have to be able to put something on there which is valid for them to see and then know that, okay, there is a numeric value involved. Because they really love those numbers. And in reality, most designers that I know, when it comes to getting that stuff, unless they're highly in UX, they don't really have the metrics to show anything. You want to talk to me about like navigating a design system and having the components aren't really reliable because they're broken or they're separated, okay, but people aren't looking for that. They want to know the conversion of stuff, and that's where you can talk about that in your resume.
Yeah, I actually love that point because a lot of people approach me and they ask, how do you like prove that you validated what you built, even though it didn't go out? Like, how do you know it worked? And this is actually a great point. If you showed it to internal stakeholders and they reacted positively, that's an important thing to highlight.
Yep.
Yeah, we'll get to questions. I know probably a bunch of you people are getting tired. I am getting tired for sure, right? So we'll definitely quickly try to have one more topic kind of discussion. This is, like I said, this was more about job search and networking. We'll probably do in future about interviews. So these like talks are not going to be about interviews or anything, but we'll quickly try to wrap up in like 30 minutes so that people don't have like information overload. But you had a question.
No, I
Oh.
don't have a question.
Oh, you have thoughts,
I wanted
please.
to add, yeah,
Yes.
I heard recommendation that you should have two resumes, one for ATS and another one for your portfolio. So I personally have two in different designs. So one for ATS with one column, regular one, very simple, that I send when I apply for jobs, and another one more fancier with color, like not with images.
You can have those, right? As long as you're not applying with those, that's fine. If you want to like hand it over to someone in person, I think those are fine. Generally, what I think while trying to maintain too is that maintenance. You'll always have to make sure that whatever you update here, you're updating here. And this is something that I constantly see where I open somebody's resume on the portfolio and they're like, oh, this is not up to date one.
Yeah.
So that's
Great
what
point.
the issue occurs when you're maintaining like two different versions. Otherwise, that's fine.
Or if it's 2 pages, if it's 2-page resumes, right? I normally just do one, even though I've got about 20 years experience, I'll just do one. Why? Because one, ageism is a real thing. Like they will pay me for that if I'm trying to go for a role, which, when I think of like designer, how high up on the role you're going to get as a designer. All the shares will close yourself a designer,
Another thing to add with resume, this is a recap from the previous session, is do it in Word documents and export to PDF from Word documents. Don't do it in Figma and export to PDF and expect ATS to read it because they can't. So that's a really resume 101 right there. That's basically that. And resume is 1 page, ever and forever will be. And some people that switch career ask me that, do you put that you were an architect before? And my question back to them is that, will it actually benefit the job you're applying? If it's not, why is it there? It's a very simple question.
Yeah.
And you will always have those questions in your head, like, should I put that there? Should I put this there? Is it benefiting the position that you're actually applying? If it's not, you know the answer. Don't.
I have a contradictory opinion. Really? I think it tells a really nice story if you show the transition from where you started to where you're going, especially if you're early career and right now making the transition. It's better to show what you did than nothing.
I mean, essentially, like again, going back to the fact that it should make sense. You cannot like put an architecture experience, but do not show how that relates to what you're doing right now. That transition, like how you're going to bring the transferable skills. I think that's important. If you just put something super vague, then it's not going to help. I think that's the idea.
Like example, a yoga teacher or something, and you're applying for like a food company, it might not resonate. Yeah.
So, is there a question?
Yeah. What is the value that certifications have in the industry? Like when you're in the industry and when you're applying, like what value does it hold?
I mean, I can give my opinion. I wouldn't care unless I see it reflected somewhere. Like you writing a name of a certification means nothing. For example, a lot of times people write in their resume coursework. I don't know what that coursework means in this college versus other college versus something else. It's not descriptive. You write like, oh, I got this certification from XYZ. What if I don't know? That means nothing to me. So for me, it's a good thing. You can keep it. You can keep it on LinkedIn. But I need to see that transferable value about it, honestly.
But for recruiters, if you ask a recruiter, what does a UX designer do? Most of them have no idea what we do because most designers have a hard time explaining what they do. But they look for those certifications. So I find those certifications in some ways to be beneficial, but it really does depend on the company. Something you could do is go through LinkedIn certifications. Those actually prove a lot because once I complete those, I make a note about it. So again, I'm like getting right back into my network and saying, hey, I watched XYZ's course. I like this course. Like I did the Adobe Firefly thing. Tried out, I'm like, oh, this is kind of cool. Like a lot of that stuff I could just do like with my eyes closed. But I mention this because that's a very relevant topic nowadays. Like generative AI doing visual design stuff. Okay, cool. Let me go play around with it. But to be able to have that as a certification, yeah, that's relevant. And it has a timestamp on it. And you can't, I mean, I guess you could BS it and saying that you watched it but you weren't paying attention, which why would you want to do that? But that's another way to kind of get certifications out there that are relevant to the market.
I would answer as, do you need it because you need it or because you're interested in it, more like that. Like if your job is not actually require it, why? If you're interested in it, maybe, but this is not about certification, but more about interest. Like my friend get into origami, which is the prototyping tool. And he's been so head down in it and he's so passionate about it. And he has a lot of interesting project coming up with like building a prototype credit card in the phone and stuff. And he posted it on ReCV and Origami actually reached out to him and featured his work in their website. I let you think about the values here between doing certification for the sake of doing certification or go with your passion and something you want to learn. Post it somewhere that people can actually see your values. They reach out to you. So I will let it go to you if you need it or you don't need it. All right, sure.
What are your thoughts on cover letters and how important are they for applications?
I can't hear you.
What are your thoughts on cover letters?
I just send resume and website most of the time.
I don't think I've read a cover letter in like 5 years.
Yeah.
But research says 83% of recruiters want it. That is a hard number. 83% wants it. And I think that's a chance to actually try to align with it. But to your point, yeah, do they read it?
Is that 83% including or excluding the applications that don't have a place to attach?
No, they're asking for, oh, great point. That's a great point. Because and if they're not asking for a cover letter, obviously you're not gonna go do a cover letter. But if the opportunity is there, post it. Now, I personally not seen any difference if I didn't do it. But there is a hard number out there. 83% of recruiters want to see a cover letter.
I would just say that it's mostly like, all these portals are a little old, so they have these as required field. Most recruiters that I've spoken to, they don't read it, and definitely like, even if you want, you can have a same cover letter. You don't have to like personalize it every time because just talk about the value you bring. And I think that's good enough if you really want to keep pasting it. Before we go next, I quickly want you guys to like stand up on your feet because you've been sitting for a while. Yeah, we've been standing. Yeah, just like move around. Yeah.
I know it's a lot, so like stretch and just walk around and grab some water. We also need to stretch too.
But we'll just like wrap it up quickly after.
But wait, I want to talk to him.
Yeah.
I don't know what's your name. Oh, sorry. Okay, I'm following him. I can't do it. Hi.
You're probably blocking the languages and fire.
I didn't realize that was the camera.
Yeah, that's the camera. You're visiting that camera.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, really?
I should have finished this.
I think like what he was saying is a good idea, where you have a generic one.
Yeah. Sorry, I don't know what she was going to say. I mean, see, that's the point. Arcade systems, they will ask asking and reading are two different things. And that's why I said have a generic one which talks about your transition, your life experiences, how it attaches to who you are, what you think, and copy paste it. Like just for the sake of it. Honestly, just for the sake of it. 99% of people are not because they just, I mean, a lot of times when it's not required, I don't even upload it, or at least I don't use it. It doesn't, it's reading. So why spend the money on something that is not worth your time? I wouldn't again. I don't know for a resume, but like I wouldn't. Just like your name, you change your name in every application. Your experience and impact and experience are going to change. What we want to do is, like, for example, you use Instagram. Are you happy with everything that Instagram has to offer? Probably not. Am I unhappy for the same things? Probably not. But Zuckerberg is not sitting there like, I need to make Instagram happy for him, happy for me. No, not even happy. We want to create a resume that works for most. So the way you do it, let's see what most people want, and then you create a content that works for most. Not everyone, and then fine. It doesn't work like that. Getting it processed is from my ATS is what? Okay, here's a job resume, here's a job description or keywords or whatever. Let's match. Oh, there's a good match. Go. Good. There's not. Reject. And that's why look at a lot of different job descriptions. Put them in Gemini, 15, 20 job descriptions. That's maybe what are the common factors you're seeing across all of this. It's a resume. It's a challenge.
Yes.
You still have a very good style today as well. That's good. I reached home. So I'll take that. It took a while. It took a couple of hours. The audience just probably had a lot of concussion. Yeah, I'm watching.
Yeah, that's great. How did you get into That's the thing too. It's like everyone has a very different opinion. There's a club that's it's so massive.
Can we all get back seated again?
Yes, just right on. Straight up. It's starting like, I want to go up very far.
Let's get back seated. We'll talk again. I actually like the quietness.
No, I like it loud. Okay, we have like around, let me see what time. Oh, okay. So the last topic is gonna resonate a lot with you guys. This is gonna be about how you absorb rejection, which sucks, but life goes on. And you know, one thing about it is like I keep telling you guys that yourself, you have your identity. Your job is not your identity. Rejection doesn't refine you. And that's another thing is that the recruiter is not the one to blame too. So you know, don't hold grudge. But yeah, how do we navigate to rejection? First thing is, if possible, I will always ask them if there are any guidance to tell me that why am I not fit with this job. And some of the feedback came back very interesting too, because what they're looking for might not be what I'm actually working or having in my portfolio at all. And you know, sometimes humans are, the nature of us is like trying to solve problems. So this is like we have a closure with our recruiter, with the company that we want to actually work with, right? At least you find out the reason why I'm not the one. And so, you know, it will actually make you feel a little bit more like, okay, now I can retrospect on like, do I need to improve my portfolio or communicate better? Or am I seeking maybe not the right people to work with, right? And second thing is you ask for the feedback, you actually learn from it. And let me think. The next thing maybe like, I know rejection is pretty hard to digest, but I always feel like one door closed, another door open. So, reflect on that. If it's actually useful or resonate with you, you will have a better portfolio after you take in some feedback that are useful. Again, useful, mean that it applies to you. It applies to what you're actually looking for. And the next thing is when you end the email, it's like, if you ever find that my skills is beneficial to you guys, whether it's contractor, freelance, or something like that, please don't hesitate to contact. Don't burn the bridge, right? You already built it. Keep it. You don't have to walk on that bridge yet, but keep it. And that's another thing is like, it's kind of show your mindset as like you pretty growth mindset. Like you open to opportunities, you open to comments. And those are the trait of people that people would love to work with because you can take comments and you're open-minded enough to listen to it and still very kind to give them another chance. So keep this in mind too, like rejection is not the end. It might actually lead you to a better path. And it might also open up some doors in the future. And please, recruiters are human. Yes. Somebody want to add to that?
Yeah, I can't emphasize enough on the fact of do not burn the bridge, because I think it often happens when the minute we get a rejection, we feel like we just have to shut down and completely just like disassociate ourselves from that person, whether it's a recruiter, whether it's a client. But I can't tell you how many times when I got rejected, whether it's because of contract job, full-time job, regardless, I still respond. I still say, thank you for your time. I appreciate you still looking at my work. I appreciate you, taking the effort to even think about me, And more often than not, there's actually been a handful of times where they come back to me for another project and they actually say, hey, we have another opportunity. Are you interested? And I take up on that next opportunity. And I think it just comes to show, it took me a long time to learn the hard way of it's okay if it's a no for the first time, because it's usually not just the fact that it's like you're not the right fit, but sometimes it's just a project. Sometimes it's just at that specific time, they're working on something that needs a very specific type of person, specific type of skill sets that obviously it's just not aligned, and that's okay. And more often than not, they don't necessarily tell you that. But that's why you have to kind of make sure you just remind yourself in the back of your head that there can always be a second chance, but that's also up to you, because if you choose not to respond, if you choose to kind of shut down, then you kind of just close it automatically without even allowing it to happen.
It's like breaking up with your ex and still can be friends.
I know it's hard, but being friend is better than being enemy. Now you're not feeling sleepy, right? Good. Anybody want to add to that?
Yeah, I think there's also a difference to be like noted between no response and rejection. And I think it's very often that we send out an application, it goes into the void, and we don't know if we made it, we don't know if they rejected us. But I think in those cases of we don't know is when you should actually proactively try to reach out and try to make sure that your resume, your portfolio was seen. Because if the job is still open on LinkedIn, they're probably still looking through that pile. We don't know how big that pile of applicants is, so do your best to push yourself to the top.
And adding to that too is, I see a lot of people comment on recruiter LinkedIn posts saying that, oh, I'm interested. Did you actually apply? Okay, that's one thing. You can say you're interested. You think they care? No. If you don't apply, who sees, right? So another thing is, I understand you're doing that for the impression, but apply first, then message them, then be like, oh yes, I applied, hope to talk to you soon. And maybe another day pass, LinkedIn DM them and be like, oh yeah, I'm looking forward for the interview or maybe the follow-up next steps. something like that. Because if you just comment, be like, and hope that the recruiter will like come and see your LinkedIn and look at your portfolio and like, oh my God, I want to hire you. No, they're too busy. So that's add up to another thing to like, yes, do apply, please. Yeah.
I can quickly share some thoughts. It's obviously going to be a bit repetition of what these people have already said because I think I agree with everything that they've mentioned. Be nice, be respectful, be open to opportunities, right? First of all, don't take rejections personally because most of the time, I'm straight up being honest, most of the time it has got nothing to do with you and your work. Because like, as I was mentioning, there's a big pile and probably they have not even looked at your profile at all. And then because they probably found somebody before, they just sent out a rejection email. They didn't send out any response. And it's very normal again because they have to go through a lot of applications. So sometimes it's difficult to send every application the response back. So that's fine. So don't take it personally. Second thing that I would say is that like I think what Jamin mentioned, keep maintaining that relationship because I can give a personal anecdote where I was interviewing with this company, spoke with the creative director, and this kind of ties up to earlier what we were saying that bring something relatable to them, right? So we ended up talking. So that was a 30-minute interview. We ended up talking for 2.5 hours. They had time, I had time. So we were just having fun conversation. And before going into the call, I stopped them, right? I stopped their LinkedIn. And I was not able to find any portfolio or anything. So I just did a quick Google search and turns out they had a portfolio website, not UX or nothing. It's just creative, person. And I found there was like different art pieces and stuff. And that's what we ended up on talking. I went to different rounds of interview. I actually got the offer. I rejected them. A year later, this creative director reaches out to me. Hey, Shivam, I don't know if you remember, but we had this conversation about avocado arts. And I still remember it during the interviews. I'm reaching out because I'm trying to transition purely into UX. Would you be open to being my mentor, right? And I think the idea is again the same. How you do these things, how you reject is what people also remember. And so we want to be nice on those terms as well. Yeah.
I think I want to add to both of your thoughts in that understanding rejection is also very important. Not just that I didn't get the job, but why and how could I improve going forward? And that's similar to what I was mentioning before. If you talk to the recruiter, you ask, is there any hesitation? Same thing when you get that email with rejection. Are there any notes that you could give me? Are there any reasons that were highlighted by the team?
That was a question. Yeah.
Yeah. You talked about not making your resume in Figma and Creative ATS. Can you talk more about that? Okay, sure. Or just what programs?
Yeah, so basically Google Doc, export to PDF is more effective than do it in Figma and export to PDF. That way the ATS can read. Yeah.
Because technically, on occasion, there are gremlins that are in the context when it's shifted over. Yeah, so there's a technical term. And that gets picked up by the ATS, and then that doesn't populate through. There are visible characters.
Okay, I will ask you back how you made your resume right now.
Good.
And do you export to PDF? Okay. And what's the so
But
you
before
already.
that, I did it in design.
That's fine.
Why did you shift to Google Doc?
For ATS.
How do you find out?
But I didn't know about Figma.
Figma too is like it doesn't export the same.
I think any design tool, what we need to understand that is the basic of any design tool is that it's working on layers, right? So even the text that you're writing is a layer. And not every single ATS checker, like sometimes it will work. I'll give you that. Figma, InDesign, Marvel, whatever tool you're using, Adobe XD, sometimes it might work. But do you want to do something that works sometimes, doesn't work sometimes, and you don't know when? Or do you want to do something that we know actually works, and let's just go with the safer route, right? Which is Google Doc, Microsoft Word.
So not all PDFs are the same, is what you're saying.
Yeah, so I was going to say a layered Word documents are layered.
Yeah, no, like the way Figma sometimes treat, or like the ATS checker it would treat, it's not taken as a text. It can be taken as an image, right? Versus your doc, it's like purely text based.
I see what you're saying. Because if you export, and that goes back to the typing. So you export a Figma file, the font may default to outline.
Yeah, and you don't want it like
from there. Now you're doomed. If it and that could be the entire document because that typeface doesn't register correctly. So it's still SVG. Which again, we're getting very nerdy here, but it's still SVG, but it's legible, but it won't be scannable. versus the regular, what is that? TTF versus TTF versus, I forget the other one. Anyway, it gets into that level of nerdiness, which I think a lot of times we trip up on because you're trying to make it look fancy. And unfortunately, ATS just likes it black and white, nothing fancy.
Just think about like how you make your reader, which is ATS right now, be able to read, right? You write and read in their language. So, visual might be important, but again, if they can't read it, it doesn't mean anything.
And you know something else? Some of these companies that we post our resumes to, have you ever seen it when it says, oh, upload your resume and we'll formulate all the fields? And it does like an absolutely awful job because it costs these companies lots of money to upgrade that. So instead of doing that stuff, what do? They don't. I've actually had places where I've just uploaded a TXT file. That bare bones, because there's nothing to worry about. It's going to read it. And that was my concern with a lot of it. Instead of like doing the PDF and the double columns, triple columns, and it's, nope, you want to have my resume and you want to do the free upload? Okay, cool. So give it a TXT file. You can still have the PDF on the side, but the TXT file is going to eliminate all that nonsense because the typeface itself is all binary.
And
that's
TXT
ATS.
means-
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
TXT is text, basically. And DOC is what you export as documents. And basically PDF is PDF. Yeah, that's all. So I know it's digging into like the previous session stuff, which we talked about resume last time, but thank you for the recap. But is there any other question that's cycling around this topics?
Yeah, I have a question regarding to, you mentioned there are fonts that ATS can, so can you suggest any ATS friendly fonts?
I would say Google Fonts. That's the same.
Arial, Helvetica. That's it. You know why? Because it's right out the box. Everybody's got it. You get into fonts that are not necessarily, like Google Fonts is accepted online, but those same fonts may not be registered when it gets into these ATS things, which is why we keep it very vanilla. Right now, all your other stuff, your website, absolutely have fun. Be very expressive about that. But when it comes to the ATS, I treat it like a deranged animal. Like I just don't want to bother it. Here's the stuff. I don't want it to bite me. There you go. And that's it. Just walk away.
Just make sure it's readable, and it's also, I'm gonna talk on the brand side because I'm strong on branding. Use font that resonate with your portfolio as well. Google font should work anyhow because it's work on web browser, so it should work. And as long as you do it on Google Doc, those are font that works, right? As long as you don't like put something that's cursive or something that is unreadable, then that should be fine. Yeah, just make sure readability is on there.
That's a question.
Regarding the ATS, do you guys know if you upload your resume, like, does the recruiter pick up those resumes from the keywords? Or are they searching for people, like, through applications, but, like, are things gathered from keywords and then it goes to their...
Yeah. But the other thing too is that they'll see all these resumes. And let's say everybody's resume is 100%. Now what happens? They still got to look. No, I can definitely talk about it because I deal with hiring people. That's why I'm outspoken on it. Because a lot of times I'll see resumes where people try to BS their way through it. And okay, cool, let's say you get them. Everybody hits 100% in this room. What do I have to do? I'm gonna only have a certain threshold. So I'm gonna pick through a certain amount. I'm gonna divvy it up to my team and say, what do you guys think of these people? So you may take 10, you may take 10, you may take 10. Okay, cool. We got 30. We've gone through this. Out of these 30 people, I trust the people that I hired that are up on this panel. They say, hey, Joey, we like these people here. Cool. We consolidate it down to that group, and then we make our move.
You should just try out resumeworded.com. That may let you understand better how ATS work and highlight keywords, because that is like very visible. They will highlight like amount of repetitive keywords on that job description that resonate with your resume information. And I think that's just the way of more of a fair share of like us as not recruiter to include in this panel of like how it should work. I think a different company work differently in terms of picking people too. So it's just a part of it.
I think so too, but in those companies that get a large volume of applications, the ATO system that they do in conjunction with whatever they have internally does some sort of a ranking based on how correlated the two are.
Yeah, that's why I was reading. That's why I was like, I don't know if it's if it's
Like you should score
gathering
up to
all these
certain point.
words and then it goes to them based on what their requirements are or something like that, you know?
Yeah, you will have like 100 scores, right? You should score above 80 above.
Okay.
Yeah, that's how the keyword related. So try out resume worded, and you understand the concept much better.
Great, thank
Yeah.
You had a question, yeah.
Sure, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I don't know if this was brought up yet, but like I have like kind of a networking question.
Yeah,
So
thank you.
on my end, I guess like to be candid, I'm kind of like an introvert. So like I have this like weird relationship with like LinkedIn where I get kind of like shy to like post things.
Mm-hmm.
So like I guess in your perspective or like if anyone has like the shared experience of like wanting to put yourself out there but not really being the best at like doing so, like maybe like platforms like LinkedIn or social media is like maybe kind of like intimidating for someone like me. How would you kind of suggest or like recommend that we get like more comfortable using platforms like that or like putting ourselves out there in general?
We'll reflect a question back to you, like, are you comfortable attending this kind of events more than posting on LinkedIn?
I'd say so.
Yeah, then I think this is the right place. And then you can still connect on LinkedIn after without posting anything. I don't post that much, but I like coming to meet people like this and connect with them so we can keep in touch. And actually, we live in the same neighborhood. I will always ask them if they're free on the weekend so we can hang out. Maybe we can try that.
I also consider myself a bit of an introvert, and when I come to events like this, especially when I was job seeking, I would come prepared with a few questions in my pocket because when I'm nervous and meeting new people, I don't know what to ask.
Yeah, go ahead.
I know you touched on this a little bit earlier, and I understand you all changed careers at some point and pivoted. Do you have some more advice on how to, translate your skills from one career to the other without your previous career handicapping you on this new identity?
Oh, we can reflect on the architect world. I feel like I was hired in that architecture firm as a marketing person. And because it's just so obvious that I'm not happy in that job that I tried to find a lot of branding projects to do on the free time of the day. And because the rent was so tight, I was forced to do it. So that's how I actually get portfolio. But you will ask me, how did you get that job when you don't have anything on your resume that resonated you can do it, right? So you dig what you can dig. I actually did a lot of like branding for my thesis project, which is in architecture. I did a brand package for all the judges. And people see me from there and they're like, you should be better off doing branding. And my cousin at the same time starting an ice cream business. And I was like, can I please do this? I do it. And that's the first one, and it's called Fun Ice. And till nowadays, you can see it on my website. And I'm still proud of it till nowadays because it's the only ice cream that in the early era it communicated with people that the nutrition fact is right on the lid, not on the cup. So I'm like, I'm proud. So yeah, I'm pretty much like seeing myself that like, even though I was an architect at that time, but I get into more and more marketing. And because at that time I was like a teacher assistant at Pratt for visualization classes as well. So I'm like digging deeper into like how students actually present their work. So then I boiled down to like pretty much a marketing person and not an architect. And then you build a portfolio around it. I was a connection again. Working is really important. You tell people what you're passionate, what you love doing, right? And then somehow they might have a small project. You can go check at Upper East Side. There's one of my painting in the restaurant too. And the way I got it is from my architect friend. And she was like, we're looking for someone to illustrate this wall you want. And I'm like, hell yeah. Like it's not architecture work, but it's like in an architecture, like hell yeah.
Which restaurant?
I forget the name, but I will tell you. I'm sorry, my clients. Because I got hired from her, but I'll send you the location. It's called Thai Hot Box. I'm sorry. If you're listening, I'm sorry, but I remember,
Thai hot box that's just in Upper East Side. It's a wall this long, and it's all my painting from Procreate, and it was done on mini iPad. So you see, like you're not limited by tools or anything. But yeah, ask for the job, be passionate about it, keep connecting to people. Like right now, some of you guys already know I draw, even though it doesn't say in my title. And then you guys might want to connect with me, to draw with me, to hire me to draw, or something else, right? Like a merch or something, or even brand. Put yourself out there. Say it with your passion. You can see how my eye glow, and I say like fun eyes is one of my baby that I'm so proud of. Yeah. Be at that level of like you have a lot of the baby to be proud of. Yeah. I'm gonna add to your architecture pass.
Yeah, I mean, I'll keep it simple. It's like, I never let it define me completely ever. I think, granted, a lot of us in this room, I'm sure, have made a lot of pivots, whether it's career, whether it's personal. I mean, it's just life, and I think it just makes our story that much more interesting. And it's always going to be a part of me, right? It's not necessarily going to be something that I shut out completely, but at the same time, like Nara said, it's just how you market yourself, it's how you express yourself. And it's just what you want to focus on. I think that was one chapter of my life where that was my primary focus, but now it's shifted, and now I just kind of shifted as I market myself, right? And that's fine too. I mean, I remember when I self-taught myself photography, I branded myself as a photographer, even though inherently I wasn't a professional. I was just doing it as a hobby. But that's how I got my first freelance work. That's how I got my first clients. That's how I did my first client interactions, And I don't know, I think that's really what it comes down to, is just what do you want to do, and do you enjoy it,
But that's amazing, because what I think we're missing with that statement is that he believed he could be a photographer. That was it. I don't need any paperwork, schooling, or any of that stuff to tell me that, right? I grab the camera, I can take some pictures, I can do this, right? Let me go do it. Now, granted, that's part of the problem, because a lot of people don't get deep into it, but you did get deep into it. You did go forward. So I think a lot of it's got to do with self-confidence, to say, you know what, I am going to do this. There was a plan A and plan B that I told myself when I left Philly. Plan A was to be a success. Plan B was make sure plan A didn't up. That was it. There was no Joseph going back to doing some mundane job as a waiter or something I was doing for my career. It was like, no, I'm going to be a designer, and that's it. There is no turning around from that.
You had something?
Yeah, I was gonna say, there's also something to say about not forcing the reader of your resume and portfolio to do the mental gymnastics to figure out what is the link between these things. It's important for you to outline, here are the transferable skills that I learned in that job, even though I'm changing title. These are the things that are going to be useful for me going forward. I was an engineer. I want to be a designer. I know how to talk to engineers now.
Very relevant.
But yeah, no, I think we'll call time at this here. I am tired. I don't know about you. I am tired. I don't want to talk anymore. But I know there's still a bunch of questions on Dory. What I'll do is make sure that we take some time in this coming week and respond there. So you can always go back to that link and see if you have left a question, if that's answered. So if you have question and if it was not answered, you can do that. We can take, this upcoming week. It might take some time because, we work sometimes.
we need a roof on our head.
This is not a full-time job that we're doing. But yeah, thank you so much for coming. It was really nice, very interactive crowd. It's always fun when people are talking and not just us. So thank you so much. We'll take a quick picture after this. But yeah, no, thank you so much again. You guys can get up. You don't have to wait for me.
But yeah, if you guys have questions, just let us know. We try to respond, but maybe a little bit late.
Yeah, we're just going to take a quick picture here. Yeah, and you guys can continue networking amongst yourself. Like, it's just not panel is stopping, but we can talk, you can talk. Nobody's asking you to go home. Oh, we are like taking a picture with this.
Oh, yeah.
Legit cannot.
I went to do boxing yesterday. So my whole body
Walk towards this flag.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so sorry for this today.
Nobody's walking. Hi, networking guys. Then you can everyone just come this side and we take a picture and then you continue talking. I need to go. My mom's
Okay, guys, who want to take pictures? You can actually stay and we're gonna take quick pictures. You feel free to network.
I can just turn around and take my picture. Somebody want this. Yeah, just like line up there. Well, you are also going to be in there.
Okay, but who's gonna take it?
I'll take it first and then yeah.
Where's the flag? They're holding.
And of course, thank you so much for coming. It was super fun.
Probably be on your phone.
Yeah.
Hi guys, I know you can't hear me,
I'm
but
clicking.
if you can hear, let's take pictures.
Get in the frame. I'm clicking.
If you want to be in the photo, come stand here. Celebrity moment.
You have to go a little back.
Oh, I can't.
Push. Go back. I don't really want to take a 0.5. Can people go back?
I can because it's a chair.
Huh?
It's a chair.
So you can go behind the chair. Surprise.
Your mom is okay, just take it. Just take it 0.5. Take it.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe stand fish eye.
Sure, we'll do fish eye.
Just take it, that's okay. Are you okay?
Scootin'.
Squeeze.
Nice. Take a nice one. You're taking yours or mine?